Let's look at a monster Wednesday. 12 games on. So many performances to break down, including another epic Zach Edey performance. Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NBA fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and that's the way it's going to be, little darling. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and you can find me on Twitter, as always, at redrock_bball, on TikTok at redrock_bball, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app. Create an account and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Also, check out LockedOnDaily.com for a newsletter on your favorite team. The best newsletter in the business, BITB. Check it out. Thumb up this video as well and subscribe and blah, blah, blah. 12 games on what day? Wednesday. Of course, I'm having a bit of fun with the Zach Edey thing, yeah, because after the big game that he had against the Nets the other day, a lot of comments. Josh is so wrong on Edey. I knew it. I watched all of his college. He's awesome. He's going to kill everybody. He's so good, you're so wrong, you're so... Cool. He's got the perfect combination of A, being Canadian, and B, being an overhyped Ollie Calder prospect that I'm always going to be talking about him. We'll talk more about that later. That's not the biggest stuff of the day, of course, but I just wanted to start things off spicily. So let's get in and actually break down all of this stuff across the league. We did a waiver wire show with the waiver wire trends earlier today, so I'm not going to go into that right now. We're just going to get straight in here. Actually, I'll talk about that news later on regarding Joel Embiid. I'm sure you already know it. He's starting his first games next week after the 3-game suspension. We already knew that. That's Shams tweeting that out like it's like, yeah, he's the big news, my guy. Yeah, thanks, Shams. We knew it, my guy. Let's go. In their first game, Detroit, Charlotte. Charlotte wins it on a Brandon Miller game-winning shot. Good game overall for quite a few players in this one. We'll start with Detroit, and we'll start with the passport legend Jalen Duren, who beat LaMelo Ball to be the first player to suffer a sprained ankle this season. He lasted, 8 minutes and had 0 points with 3 rebounds. Don't drop him. But it brings up a conundrum, doesn't it? I don't know if Duren's going to miss the next game, but Alf Stewart played 26 minutes. He had 6 and 7. He also chimed in 6 assists, Stuart, which is good. But what about your man, B-Ball Paul Reed? He reeded 13 and 2, 2 steals, 1 block, 100% shooting. 12 minutes that's a ridiculous line in 12 minutes. I wouldn't add Paul Reed, but deeper leagues will want to pay a little bit of attention. Stewart could be an add in 12s, but he's also still just Isaiah Stewart. But an opportunity might be opening up. Jaden Ivey hurt his leg late in this game, but returned 21, 4, and 5. Another strong game. While Cunningham had one of the, that's Cade, in case you didn't know. One of the emptiest triple-doubles. 20 and 10 with 10 assists is great, but no threes, no steals, no blocks, and shot 39%. So it's a lot of ups and downs in that line overall. I think Hogsman was solid. 14, 7, and 3 with a steal and a block. And if you can get a solid Hogsman performance, I think you've got to be relatively happy. It's just sort of doing the thing at the moment, which is fine. Timmy Hardaway did his thing, 13 points with 3 threes. That's what he does. And Beasley had 5 with 1 3. And I don't know. I don't think there's a lot more to really go on about with those guys. You sort of know that one guy's going to have moments and performances, but you just don't know who it's going to be. On the Hornets side of things, we'll start with Miller, who I did have on my buy low show, and people didn't like that I had him there. He still seems to be on somewhat of a minutes limit, played only 29 here, and the shooting still remains bad. He had 19, 6, and 4. He hit 3 threes. He had no steals and no blocks and shot 38%. It is not, this is 4 games now. It has not been a super solid start from Miller, and I still do believe that there was a buy low opportunity there for him, and I still think it exists. Concerningly, LaMelo Ball popped up on the injury report before this game with ankle soreness. He played through it. He played 32 minutes. He had 25, 6, and 8 with 2 steals and 5 threes, and that's a great sign. It's just not a good sign that he was there to begin with, and he didn't attempt a single free throw here. So, again, you got to be somewhat concerned, but he played. Miles Bridges, this is what you wanted if you drafted him. 27 and 7. No defensive stats, but 9 of 9 from the line. He also looked like he suffered maybe a serious knee injury at the end of the game, but went to the locker room and then came back and checked in. So I don't know. We'll keep an eye on where that takes us, but that was a little bit weird that he was able to do that. The center position, there's still no BDNR. That's going to be weeks. And Mark Williams, I don't know, man. They keep pushing it back, which is frustrating. Maybe it's next week. I honestly don't know at this point. So if you're in deep leagues, Taj Gibson. 7 points, 15 minutes, 2 blocks. That's deep league stuff. Grant Williams posted a 12-team line here. 12 and 7, 2 threes, 2 steals, and a block. That's really good. But go back one game and look at what he did, and that's why you go, like maybe not. The upside's not that high, and the downside is low. The question I guess you want to hear about is Trey Mann, who had 4 points in 21 minutes and didn't shoot well. That's, I think, the first time he hasn't hit double-digit scoring. I would hold maybe just waiting to see what happens with Miles Bridges, but it is trending the wrong direction. It is trending towards a drop. I will give it one more game, but it is moving quickly in the wrong direction if you are someone who has Trey Mann, and I do have Trey Mann in a few leagues. The second game is the Indiana Pacers knocking off our Orlando Magic 118-111. Let's just talk Goga Bitadze. 30 minutes, 10 and 12, 3 blocks. That's an absolute must-add line. The problem is, I don't know when Wendell Carter's back. He could play the next game. He could miss 3 weeks. I think this is one of those ones where you just add him and figure it out later. And if you get no games out of him, you just go, oh well, it was worth it. Like adding Grant Williams is not that play. Adding Goga Bitadze in this scenario is. Jalen Suggs, 15, 5, and 6, continues his really strong start, while Franz Wagner also really, really solid here, 28, 8, and 6. And it was finally a big game from KCP. And you know what I think about it? Nothing. I don't care. I'm not adding him. He played 38 minutes. He had 13, 5, and 2. He's a fine enough stream guy if you're looking for a steal or some threes, and that's what the minutes floor gives you with him. They started Tristan Da Silva again. He had 5 in 23 minutes. He's not very good. And this time it was Mr. Black that was able to do better. Anthony Black played 27 minutes. He had 12 points. He had 6 assists and 2 steals. But there's too much inconsistency with playing time. He shot 57% here. He might shoot 10 in the next game. He's not a must-roster guy, I don't think. Neither is Da Silva. They're stream guys. You see how it works while these players are out. And we'll see which direction they go in the next game. They're obviously just not playing Jonathan Isaac. There's no need to be rostering him.
Get that garbage out of here.
9 and 6 in his 16 minutes, while Mo Wagner had 14 in 15 minutes. I would like a little bit more out of Mo. It's also interesting that Jet Howard, I think, was the first man off the bench and played 3 minutes. Let's look at the Pacers. Line up the same for them, but some interesting changes to their rotation in this one. They went away from the big minutes of Obi Toppin. He played just 17 minutes and had 4 points with 0 rebounds. And the only thing that this guy provides is points and rebounds. If they're not going to use him in the full backup 4 and backup 5 role, he's not a 12-team league guy. Now that you've got this uncertainty, you don't hold him. The guy that got the extra minutes was Jarris Walker, who played 23. He had 17 and 6, 2 steals and a block. It could be one of those scenarios where perfect shooting got him extra playing time. Totally could be possible. But there's openings here. The backup centers aren't coming back, clearly, but Aaron Nesmith is out, and we'll see how long he remains out. But good enough production from Jarris to at least be watched. I don't think that it's a 12 ad, but it's something to pay attention to. I think you do have to add Benedict Mathurin in 12-team leagues. He had 14 free throw attempts. He hit 13 of them. He had 20 and 11, but beware. If it's not for that 20 and 11, there's nothing else going on there. There's no assists. It was one of them. It required a lot of free throws, and he's very good at that, and it requires minutes. He played 34. Will he get 34 minutes when Nesmith returns and he's coming off the bench, or will he start over Andy Nembhard, who's, by the way, Jack?
Get that garbage out of here.
Unless you desperately need Nembhard's assists, he's doing nothing. And this is exactly what we saw from him all last regular season. I'll talk a little bit about Tyrese Halliburton. He played a lot of minutes, 37 of them. He scored 17 points, which is not good enough. The usage is low. The assists were low, 4 assists here. He shot well, that's a positive. But what is happening is they are placing a lot of attention on him, and Jalen Suggs is one of the best Tyrese Halliburton defenders in the NBA. It gets the ball out of Halliburton's hands, so they try other things to try and get other players going, and he's just not getting himself into those positions, largely through the defense, of being able to generate the assists or the shot attempts. So yeah, it's disappointing, and maybe we need to sort of reassess where his assist ceiling is for this season. But he's had back-to-back 20 and 10 seasons, Halliburton, and like, is he that bad now? He's dealt with hamstring problems and back problems. Maybe all that's playing a part in it. But I do think there is still plenty of room for this to improve. McConnell was perfect from the field. 2 players on this team didn't miss a shot, Walker and McConnell. Timothy John had 15 points. We can ignore that largely, while Siakam had 17, 4, and 3, which is, pretty good. Pretty good. Today's episode is brought to you by Skims. Yes, Skims is now available for men's. Guess what it's called? Skims for Men. You might have seen your partner, friend, you might have been casually watching TV and you saw an ad for Skims. I mean, oh, these are undies. I wonder if they got men's. Or maybe you never thought that in your life. But I'm here to tell you about Skims for men. You, if you are a man, and 98% of you are, so cool. You will have undies and you go, not sure about those. Tag itches. Don't like how it fits. Support's not there. Material's off. But you find the good ones. And you go, oh, these are the good ones. And you wear them. And you wear them. And you wear them. And someone nonchalantly points out, why are you wearing undies where there's holes in them? You go, they're bloody comfy. Well, that's what Skims for Men is. They are bloody comfy. Now, that's not part of their copy here that I'm reading out, but that's okay because I've worn them. I've got pairs. There's boxes, there's briefs, there's cotton material, there's the stretch material like that sort of undershort you have in your running shorts. So depending on what sort of thing you enjoy, what sort of fabric you like feeling in those intimate areas, Skims for Men is going to have all of the different options, different colors, different cuts, different sizes, and different materials. So, shop Skims Men at skims.com. Let them know that we sent you. There is a pull-down menu, drop-down menu, and you can select podcast in there, and you select our show on that part of it as well when you make your purchase. And if you're also looking for perfect gifts for your whole family, Skims just launched their biggest holiday shop ever, which is also available at skims.com. All right, let's head back into the to the next game. We're talking the third game of the day. It is, what about this? Your Atlanta Hawks pulling the upset over the New York Knickerbockers. The Knicks, rough start to the year. I'd say that's fair. They lose 121-116, the final score here. For the Knicks, it's just a lot of the same. Towns has been really good. 34-16 with 5 threes and 3 blocks. And yeah, the percentages, the field goal percentage, not ideal, but yeah, he was a guy that I was happy looking at being a end of the first round, early second round player. He's ranked 8th so far this year because I thought it was relatively obvious. Minutes up, playing center means rebounds up, playing center means blocks up, playing center also should mean field goals up. And that hasn't really occurred. He's just dominating with rebound numbers. It was a tale as old as time, or we just saw what happened 3 years ago, and it was pretty obvious. I thought it was pretty obvious. And here we go. He's cooking. Juice McBride, what did he shoot? 0 of 9 last game. He has 16 points on 55% shooting with 7 assists and 4 threes. It's a really good game. He's very hit or miss. He would be a clear ad if anyone gets hurt, but I'm not certain that he's anything more than like a 14-teamer at this point. Josh the Hitman Hart just should be rostered everywhere, 14, 8, and 8 with a steal and a block, while it seems like OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges are sort of trading back and forward. Anunoby played 41 minutes, he had 15, 6, and 3, pretty good. While Bridges started off the season well and sort of fallen back, 10 points, 40% shooting, 5 assists. Not terrible, but he's sort of in that area, I think, where you would have drafted, or not where you would have drafted, because his ADP was in the 50s, which I hated. But he's in the 80s, which is, I think, about the right spot for him. They're just honestly one of the more boring teams to talk about at the moment for fantasy, the Knicks, because it's just no one plays. Like there's 6 guys that play and nothing adjusts or nothing changes at all. The Hawks, on the other hand, have a lot of players out. No adjustment to their starting lineup because there was still no Bogdanovic, still no Hunter, still no Vic Krejci, still no Kobe Buffkin. Zaccharie Risacher continued to start. He went crazy. 37 minutes for Risacher, 33 and 7, 6 triples, 3 steals, 2 blocks. He also shot only 56% from the line, and that's been pretty rough so far this season. But this is obviously a massive, massive performance from Risacher. This brings him to the 184th ranked player for the season. The last 5 games, he's been solid enough, but still only 112th. Should you add him? Like, probably yes. Right? I honestly have no idea if DeAndre Hunter will take the starting job back. I would think it's pretty unlikely now, though. I would put it at a 90-10 that he takes it back. But also, I can just go back and look at all of Risacher's other games and go, oh, that's completely nothing related to anything of the other games that he's done. His shooting was under 40% before today across the entirety of the season, and he got really hot and then added a bunch of defensive stats too. And before today, he was averaging 1 assist per game. But this is obviously awesome. Could it kickstart things? Maybe. Or could he be Zach Edey in the next game? Possible. But it's absolutely worth grabbing. After early season panic, Jalen Johnson is like just fine. 23, 15, and 7. Trae Young played through the rib issue, 23, 6, and 10. Big games. Wasn't big for Onyeka Okongwu, who last game was good and then played 20 minutes and had 2 points with 5 assists and a steal and shot 17%. And get ready, if you are in a shallow league...
Get that garbage out of here.
Not that I don't think he's good. Not that I don't think he can get 26 minutes a night at some point, but it's not imminent. It's not consistent. And in shallow formats, that's fine. You just move on. And honestly, in a 12-team league, I'm getting real close. Too many back and forwards here. Capella was fine, 18 and 6, but other games he's not. It's very up and down, and I do think that is a pretty established pattern here of never being able to trust what the minutes are going to be at center. Dyson Daniels shot horribly, 19% for 6 points, but he had 4 steals, he had a block, and that's what you have him for. You just want those other things to be a little bit better, and they weren't, and that's okay. They will be better than that as we move forward, so nothing to worry about. But at least when you have a stinking night like that, getting the steals to go with it is always a bit of a W, I think. The Golden State Warriors, they travel into Boston and they beat them. 118-112. Steph Curry played 34 minutes, 27, 7 and 9, 4 steals, 7 of 7 from the line. Unbelievable stuff from Steph. We love to see that. And Budrick Hield continued to be awesome. Now, Hield was running at an outrageous usage. It dropped here down to 16%. But he's still shooting the absolute lights out. 57% from 3. Imagine being on a team with Steph Curry and you're the best shooter. Because honestly, this season he is. Long term, no, I don't think that'll be the case. The worry with Hield had always been, where does he get enough minutes and what else does he do? At the moment, the minutes are fine because Podziemski didn't play here, Melton is out, and every shot is going in, so it means that carries all of his value. But there is going to be a period where he doesn't go 50% from 3, and that I can guarantee you. I don't know when it'll happen. But it will happen really soon. So for now, he looks great. But I wouldn't get too excited about, wow, Buddy Hield, what an unbelievable guy. He's always going to be awesome. No. I don't think that any of that is true really whatsoever. He was good here, though, and there is no debating that. Moses Moody did jump into the starting lineup ahead of Gary Payton, and Moody continues to impress, but the minutes are just too low. 9 and 6, but played 13 minutes. Draymond, 9, 6 and 4. There's not much there. And I talked about this on the Waiver Wire show earlier today about droppable players, and 2 of them were John Kuminga and Brandon Podziemski. Podziemski didn't play here, and with a team that's sort of healthy, I don't know how we can feel like really any level of confidence in him. It's just really hard to look at that as an absolute must with Podziemski. And honestly, what do you do with Kuminga? Well, here's what I think you do.
Get that garbage out of here.
I have long been of the opinion that he's not very good. That he can be really highlight worthy. He doesn't impact things defensively enough. He's a bad decision maker and a bad shooter. Last season, he had a really strong run after he complained publicly about his coach, and that was good. And then things started to fade back second half of the season. But also it doesn't matter what I think, because I think we're pretty well aware that Steve Kerr also doesn't think he's very good and gets frustrated with him very easily. He might not think that he's good because they're NBA players, of course they're very good. Yep, that's true. But he gets frustrated with him. There's a million other options. And Kuminga played 18 minutes. He had 10, 4, and 1. He shot 40%. That's just bad. And while you can point to this and say, well, he had 3 fouls in this game or whatever, it's just a continual pattern. He's coming off the bench. He's playing 24, 25 minutes. He's the 209th ranked player this season. He's 152nd in points leagues. What are we holding for? What are we waiting for? Multiple injuries? Steve Kerr to get fired? The second one's not happening. They're 8 and 1, 7 and 1, because he's not playing. So yeah, move on. Andy Wiggins played 31 minutes. It's very empty. 16-2 with lots of zeros and bad percentages, but the fact that he plays 31 minutes makes me feel more comfortable, and I'm also jacking Trace Jackson-Davis.
Get that garbage out of here.
I think in 22 minutes, 23, he's easily a 12-10 league guy, but there's too many ups and downs. What's the ceiling for him at the 100th best player and then the 170th on the bad days? That's not useful for most leagues, I don't think. Maybe things change later on, but what are you going to do? Just hold on to it forever waiting? I don't think so. The Celtics had no Porzingis, obviously, and no Jaylen Brown, which is becoming a bit of a problem for Jaylen. That's a couple of games in a row that he's missed, 3 in a row actually that he's missed. They went with the same starting lineup, Mayesh Keita starting, and he played 28 minutes, 14 and 8 with 2 blocks. Keita becomes interesting now because Luke Cornett got hurt as well. And he hurt his hamstring tightness. So, Cater, I think, has looked really solid the last couple of games, but if Cornett's not there, it's going to be Cater. And that means Cater will be the backup to Horford. That means Cater will get these starts in a lot of these situations. And that makes him, I don't know if he's a must roster, but he's rostered like nowhere. If I'm in a 16-team league, I'm adding him straight away. If I'm in a 14-team league, I would look at the Pastel Donata, Nemeas Keita, and I would look at it. I would consider it. And in a 12, honestly, if Cornett or Brown are ruled out, immediate add. Immediate short-term add. Maximum Derek White maximised his way to 26 and 6, 2 steals and 7 threes. He just keeps getting better. When I said that in the draft process that the Spurs should hope that Steph Castle becomes Derek White, everyone hated that. That clip somehow went, for a fantasy basketball NBA draft take, went sort of viral. People go, no way, man, there's no way they want that. Yeah, if Steph Castle becomes Derek White, they should be ecstatic. You know how good this guy is? I mean, you do, I know. But they should be ecstatic if that is what, if any player out of this draft becomes Derek White, they should be ecstatic. He's unbelievably good now. What a huge change. Not a huge change, because I knew he was good, but I also didn't know that this was what we got. Jason Tatum revenge gamed his way to 32, 4 and 2, and still on the block. Look, it's just pretty fine. Well, I guess we've got to start to have a dialogue about Drew Holiday. The 8 assists and 9 rebounds are strong. But what in the Ben Simmons is the rest of this line? 6 points, no threes, no steals, no blocks, 27% shooting. It's been a terrible start from Drew. If I'm in a points league, no worries, see ya.
Get that garbage out of here!
If I'm in a shallow category league,
Get that garbage out of here!
if I'm in a 12, it's more of a tougher discussion. I don't think he's losing his starting position anytime soon, Drew. But this is just game after game after game. Hey, there's a good one. Game after game of bad games. That's how it's running. Peyton Pritchard's outperforming him basically every night. Pritchard wasn't at his red-hot self in this one with 16, 3 and 3, but that's still really good. And Al Horford remains a must-roster player. 10, 7, 3, 2 steals, 2 threes. Really good stuff from the big bloke, Al Horford. The next game, there's some stuff to talk about in this one. It is the Lakers. It's the Grizzlies. No Anthony Davis, so Jackson Hayes started, and old mate Rui Hachimura was out. So Dalton Connect started. We'll start with Connect, who had 3 points in 27 minutes, and then hurt his jaw and didn't return and shot 14%. According to our advanced roster percentage number on Basketball Monster, he is still rostered in 19% of leagues, and that is 12-team leagues. And I'll ask the people that are doing that, what's going on in your life? You alright? You've stopped paying attention? Because that is literally insane. It's ridiculous. What are you doing? Please drop him. What for? Why is he there? Jackson Hayes played 35 minutes, and he was like mid 8 and 10. But if Davis is out, and Wood is out, Hayes is probably the only other guy. Well, Christian Koloko made his first appearance, and shout out to him, that's awesome. 2 points, 2 rebounds, 14 minutes for Koloko. But yeah, Hayes is just not much. We'll get to the controversy in a second. LeBron was fine, 39, 7 and 6. Fine, Jesus Christ. He was awesome. He's 40 years old, man. He scored 39, 7 and 6. And Austin Reeves had 19, 3 and 5 with 3 steals. D'Lo played 22 minutes. He had 12 points, he had 2 threes, he had 3 assists, he had 2 steals, and he was benched. He didn't play the final 18 minutes of the game. And JJ Redick came out and said that he didn't play because of his level of compete, his attention to detail. That's not a good thing, is it? That's not good. Not at all. But 3 times this has now happened in 18 months. The 2023-2024 playoffs benched against the Nuggets. Alright, they don't really like what he's doing here. Started the season that's the 22-23 playoffs. 23-24 season started like he was fine. Benched. Minutes down. I went, alright, that's twice in 6 months that they've moved away from him, and me, foolish idiot, said, alright, drop him. They clearly don't want him to be there. He's going to get traded. He's not very good. They hate him. And then he was a top 20 player for about 3 months in a row, hitting like 1,000,000% of his threes and absolutely cooked. And of course, the idiot front office for the Lakers said, no, have you seen? He's good now. We can't trade him. He's actually good. And now we're back to the same nonsense again. Are you going to fool me 3 times? No. So I'm not dropping him yet. But man, this is just too much evidence that this is not good enough. That he goes back and forward. It's too much. It's It's pretty frustrating. Cam Reddish is back in the rotation. Shout out to Pockets Ham. He had 15 and 6 with 2 steals and 2 threes. That's great. Please don't add him. He's getting minutes at the expense of guys like Max Christie and Gabe Vincent. Not that they didn't play, because they did, but Davis and Hachimura were out here giving those extra minutes. I cannot with the team going back to Cam Reddish as an option. Like, that is not a serious team. That is not a serious franchise. And they're going to be bad again. And they might miss the playoffs. Maybe. Lakers fans, let's cook. Speaking of cooking, let's talk about the Memphis Grizzlies, who won this game easily, 131-114. Which Memphis Grizzlies rookie should we talk about? The good one or Zach Edey? Jalen Wells had 28 minutes, 20 points with 5 threes and a steal, shot 70%. Now, last game he really struggled. But what I like about what Wells can do is he shoots. And he's got a huge opportunity here with Bain, Smart, Jackson, Williams, all out. The Duck returned. Luke Kennedy played 18 minutes for 6 points, but Wells seems to be somewhat entrenched there. I don't think that he's a must-roster 12-team league guy, Jalen Wells, but the production's pretty good. It's up and down, but it's at least an option for us. Jaren had 20 and 6 with 3 blocks. And let's just talk about the point guard spot, because Ja Morant, 20 points, 5 assists, 24 minutes, great. And then left the game with a hamstring injury. Now, they were blowing them out, so I don't know whether he was going to be close to returning. They said doubtful to return, never ruled him out. It's a hamstring. Now, how are Memphis going to use it? How are they going to treat that? Are they going to do the NBA and say he's back in 2 days and he pings it again? Are they going to actually give him time to heal? I would hope, given again the amount of soft tissue injuries, and maybe this is my point to harp on this season, the NBA preseason is ludicrous. You do not prepare these players' bodies physically. They don't. It's too short. It's like here's 3 days of training camp, play games. It's insane. It is stupid. Look at all of the soft tissue injuries we're having. I think he's missing time, so therefore Scottie Pippen is going to have to do way more. 14, 6 and 4 with a steal and a block. He's been awesome. Everything has coalesced to allow Pippen to do this. Bain, Smart, GG, Vince, Concha, Ja, everyone being out and then being minutes limited. And Pippen has taken full advantage. Laravia was solid enough. He's at least streamable. Nice 14-team league guy. 13, 5 and 8. Let's talk about Edey. Because last game, again, like I said, everyone was willing to jump on and tell me how wrong I was. I'm not even saying that I'm right. But there were some really clear things as why he did what he did against the Nets when everyone was 6'2" playing against him. This game, up against the might of Jackson Hayes, Zach Edey had 8 and 7 in 15 minutes. He still shot 60%. He didn't have foul trouble. They just went with Jay Huff. They went with Brandon Clark. Could it be that maybe he's not quite that good? NBA.com released their rookie ranking ladder, which is always the funniest thing. Whenever NBA.com releases their rookie rankings ladder, you look at it and go, well, you know, all of these are wrong. And they had the idiot one. Like, it's ridiculous. He will have better games than this. I still do not believe that he is a must-roster player, but always understand this. I came into the draft well below on Edey than most. I came into fantasy drafts well below Edey and most. You saw that in my auctions. I would throw him out and go, yeah, have him, spend your money. And I would laugh maniacally when $10 would go off the books. I didn't believe in him. So understand that when I am discussing how I don't think that he's necessarily a must-roster. Someone may view it differently, and that is totally cool as well. I just don't see it. I don't. And he struggled here, so, yep, that's where we're at with that. Today's episode is also brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Get ready to tackle all of the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything that you need. You get a hunch in the middle of the game. You're ready to do your live NFL bets. You open it up, and the stats are just right there. The play-by-play is right there as well. Everything that you need to place those bets is right at your fingertips. So go to FanDuel.com today and join up. Get started with $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. And don't forget to gamble responsibly. Let's look at the next game of the day. The San Antonio Spurs get smashed by the Rockets. 127-100 is your final tally in this one. The Spurs were playing their first game without Jeremy Sohan. And they started Steph Castle, as we thought. Castle had 5 points. He did have 3 steals, but he shot poorly. I see no evidence that A, he's a point guard, or B, that he'll ever be able to shoot. 3, he might be able to. It's very early on, right? But I'm definitely not adding him in fantasy leagues. He had 3 steals, which is nice. but there are other guys I would prefer, like Mr. Buble, Julian Champagny. 13-3-2 with 3 threes. Now, Devin Vassell could return really quickly. I don't know when it's happening, but it could be back soon. And that might put a dent in it, but Champagny is clearly your ad. The horse, Keldon Johnson, had 10 and 4 with a steal and a block, and that's solid, but how about old mate Sandro Mabakalishvili? He'd been starting to get some regular minutes and played 15 here. 10 and 7, 2 threes, and 2 blocks. Now, some of that is garbage time stuff, but without Sohan, he's like a guy that can actually play the 4, and just that's one for deeper leagues. Also, really got to be happy with what we got from the pencil Harrison Barnes. Barnesy! Happy in the sense that he remains terrible. 2 points in 18 minutes, he had 1 rebound, he had 1 assist. I thought he might be able to do a little bit more, but definitely wasn't super interested in him as a 12-10 league guy. Now, the problem here is, the Spurs play tomorrow. And they play Saturday, when no other teams play, so, you're almost forced to grab Barnes, and you're going to be disappointed. Except if he has the 37-minute game where he goes 7 of 7 for 24 points, and 8 of 8 from the line with 24 steals. Still doesn't have a block, though, because he's only allowed 1 of those per season. Not much else cracking here. Chris Paul, just the 20 minutes for him, 10, 2, and 4. Blowout, no need to extend him. Alright, Wemby, 25 minutes, 15, 6, 3 blocks. Not his best game, very clearly. It's still okay, still got 3 blocks. The efficiency's not there. He's taking a lot of threes, and they're not all going in. But I wouldn't be too bothered by it, but I'm sure somebody will. The Rockets were able to cook in this one. 25 minutes only for Fred VanVleet. 91% shooting. 21, 7, and 10 with 2 steals. Fred VanVleet is, maybe he's still okay. There's a huge article today by Kevin O'Connor at Yahoo. He posted it, and then he put an excerpt of it and tweeted it out, and he was talking about how it was ridiculous that VanVleet was playing all these minutes, and they need to get Reed Shepherd these minutes. Or, Kevin, VanVleet's just way better than him, and they're trying to win games. I don't know. It's just something that happens so often. Why is this a continual thing? And it happens in fantasy circles. I cop it all the time. Man, yeah, you thought VanVleet was good, did you? I'm not even saying that he's going to be a 2nd or 3rd round guy now. I don't know. But come on, man. There were people at the start of the season, they'll just pull him right back so the other guys can play. Not really. Jalen Green had 21, 5, and 4. That's better than his last couple of games. He's sort of settling in, which is strong, while Şengün also 16, 5, and 4, steal 2 blocks. Not much going on in terms of opposition, but good stuff. Also from Tari Eason and Amen Thompson, we know they do not eat big minutes. Tari played 22 and had 12 and 4 with a 1-1. Amen Thompson hit all of his shots, missed all of his free throws, but had 8, 6, and 4 with 2 steals and a block. And I don't actually know if this game tells us anything about the value of those 2 players, who probably should be on a roster because it is trending their direction. The direction it's trending against is Jabari Smith, who continues to be completely, invisible. He had 12 and 4 because he hit 75%, but nothing else. The minutes never seem to go gigantic. The usage is always low. I think we are firmly in the Jabari Smith is probably a drop in shallows and maybe 12s. But, we actually got our 20 minutes of Reed Shepherd in this blowout. He had 5 points in that one with 3 assists. He's tried to make Steph Castle feel at home, I guess. No, I'm being a bit harsh, aren't I? I am. Sure someone's going to have something to say about it. It's okay. The Cavs and the Pelicans. The Cavs get it again, 131-122, the final score here. Same lineup for them, no Dean Wade. So they continued with Isaac Okoro in the starting lineup, and he had 7 points in 24 minutes, and we can summarily ignore it. Jarrett Allen continues his great start, 16-14 with 2 blocks. Evan Mobley, a big drop in efficiency here, but what I do like about this from Mobley is he still took 16 shots, and that's the 2nd most on the team. He had 3 blocks, he had 15, 9, and 3. It was just a very poor efficiency night. So the last couple of games from Mobley have not been as good, but I'm still fine with him. I still think he looks really good. Don Mitchell, good bounce back game, 34 minutes for him, 29, 4, and 3. And Garland, it seemed, I think he might have had a little bit of the old, runny poo, because he was clutching his guts, running back and forth to the locker room. He didn't look right. He had 14, 1, and 9, but honestly, he's been so good this season. I don't think we worry too much about that performance. Jakaris LeVert, this is what I thought we get more out of from LeVert this season, especially with Strus down. 28 minutes, 16, 6, and 6. It hasn't been anywhere near that. He's fine to have. He's also fine to not. I don't think he's a must. But if we get more of those, he will be. Milk had 11, 3, and 5. Ty Jerome with 2 steals. That's a really good game. And in deeper leagues, Jerome is playing a solid role, a key role, in fact. And I'm not really sure that changes at any point. He's very clearly ahead of old mate Craig Porter in the rotation. In the Pelicans side of things, Zion Williamson returned and that pushed Jeremiah Robinson-Earl to the bench. Zion left in the first half with thigh soreness. I think he played about 7 minutes. He ended up playing 29 minutes at 29, 8 and 4. Good volume. Unbelievable free throws. I hope that thigh thing is not an ongoing problem, but that game is great. And then old mate Jose Alvarado. We're talking about him as a must-add, and this is... I couldn't have got more excited, some may say. Alvarado had 27, 2 and 5 with 3 steals and 7 threes and shot the ball well. Now, he will not shoot this well very, very clearly. But while these guys are out, he is a clear must roster ahead of Jordan Hawkins. Namua Legend had 7 points in 19 minutes. He came off the bench because Willie Green just likes BJ. Boston was able to start the game. He played 38 minutes. He had 14, 2 and 5. But BJ Boston playing 38 minutes while Jordan Hawkins plays 19 is very curious. I would still probably hold Hawkins, but the understanding with Hawkins is he does nothing but points and threes, and the value will disappear as soon as players return. That's the same going to go for Boston for sure. But how shocked would you be if I told you over their last 5 games BJ Boston is ranked higher than Jordan Hawkins by 70 spots? You shouldn't be shocked because it's actually true. That's what's happening. Obviously some weird stuff going on with player absences, but Hawkins is benefiting from that as well. I don't think that Boston's a must-roster player because when players come back, there's no way, right? But in 14s, they obviously have some pretty big stuff going. Yves Missi got the blocks, but 19 minutes. Long-term, that's not enough. 19 will not be enough for Yves Missi to be a 12-team league player. He's okay now if you want, but absolutely not a must. Next game, the Chicago Bulls and the Dallas Mavericks. This one ended up uncompetitive pretty quickly. Reserves came in about halfway through the fourth quarter, I think. We'll start with the Bulls side of things. They lose 119-99. No Zach LaVine. And we finally got a Matas Buzelis game. 23 minutes for Buzelis, 13 and 9, 3 threes, 2 steals and a block. That's great. That brings him to 341st on the season because he hasn't been playing. Now, some of this is because LaVine was out, but LaVine was also out last game and he barely played. So what was it? Well, there's a number of factors. One of the factors is LaVine being out. One of the factors is the blowout. But also maybe it's time to switch. Maybe Billy Donovan thinks we need to play him more. I wouldn't be investing in 12s. It's a deeper league stash scenario because eventually Billy Donovan is going to get sick of Patrick Williams, who had 8 and 6 in 23 minutes. He will. Just 100%. He's done it every year. He'll do it again. So I'm not thinking this is the full Buzelis breakout, and I wouldn't 12-team at him. But it's intriguing. Nick Vucevic continued to be the best shooter in the world. 14 and 10 on 70% shooting. I'm telling you, it is going to fall, and I will continue to tell you that it's going to fall. He missed both his threes, so bang, we're on there. And then went 88% from 2. Alright. If you think that I'm just being a hater, feel free to believe that Vuce will continue to do this. That's okay. He won't. You believe it, but he won't. Assuredly. There is nothing more sure in the world that Vuce will not continue to shoot this well. Guaranteed. Giddy, 10, 3 and 6. Yeah. Sumu played 37 minutes last game and then had 6, 5 and 4 and shot 15%. These are the games that you actually use Sumu when LaVine is out, and he doesn't have that use when LaVine is in. Then Kobe White, 8 points on 23%. The whole team was just brutal. They were dreadful. And that is why we got more Buzelis minutes, because everyone else sucked. We even got 10 and 4 from Dalen Terry in 24 minutes. And honestly, outside of that little showing from Buzelis, I think we chucked nearly all of this out. Because what does it tell us? Nothing. There's nothing useful. There's no information we're getting out of this game. Everyone's minutes were just basically play half the game each. That's really what it came down to. The Dallas side of things, there was no PJ Washington, so as expected, Najee Marshall moved into the starting lineup, and even with no Derek Lively, Daniel Gafford played only 24 minutes. Didn't really matter because it's a blowout, 17 and 7 with 3 blocks. I had people asking me the question, do I drop Gafford? In category leagues, you do not. Points leagues, it's okay to do it, but I'd wait until Lively returns. Free throw check on Luka, 89% W. 42 from the field, though sucks, but 27, 7 and 13 is great. And Kyrie had 17, 6 and 2, so they just did what they needed to do. We also got 20 Dwight Powell minutes, and that's how you know it was a blowout. Klay Thompson couldn't take advantage. He did hit 3 threes, but there's just nothing else. I'm ready to call it. If there's somebody you want to add off the wire, jack him.
Get that garbage out of here!
Klay has had in the past January through to April streaks of shooting 45% from 3 and making me look stupid, but it is a different scenario. He doesn't have the second highest usage on this team. He will not have the second highest usage on this team. So I'm actually okay if the right move is available for you to do that. Najee Marshall, last game was really good, and then he had 8 points in 21 minutes with 2 steals, largely blowout related. And if PJ remains out, I'd be okay streaming in Najee, but that's probably about it. And I believe they play again tomorrow, I'm pretty sure. No, they don't. They play on Saturday, sorry. But he's he's fine. He's definitely not blowing us away. He's not a great per-minute player or anything along those lines. But yeah, there's opportunities here because there's just really not many falls. One of the other falls was Olivier Maxence Prosper, who had 6 points in 20 minutes, and at least he was able to play ahead of old mate Marquise Morris. Alright, on to the next game, and the Thunder are no longer undefeated. They go down to the Denver Nuggets, and you'll be shocked to know that Oklahoma City made a change to their starting lineup. Isaiah Joe started for Cason Wallace as the merry-go-round continues. 124-122 the final score, with Shea having the ball at the end for the game winner didn't go. And let's talk about Shea, who played 39 minutes. He had 28, 2 and 6, no threes, 8 of 10 from the line, stealing a block. How do you think Shea's been going? I think he's been pretty good. He started out unbelievable. He's sort of cooled back a little bit now. And I think some of my concerns with him were, do the steal and block rates hold? Does the free throw percentage hold at 89 versus 84? And this game leads credence to me. Other games have led credence to know they'll hold. I still don't know where it's going to be. He's a very clear, still very good first-round player. But I think there's a little bit of getting out over our skis. I've made some jokes. I don't even know if they're really jokes, but saying, hey guys, I think Lou Dort's bad, but maybe he needs to be rostered in more spots. 11 and 6, 3 threes, 3 steals, 2 blocks. He's 113th best player this season. In points leagues, not really as good. I still do not think that Lou Dort is a must-roster player, but the evidence is getting a little bit too hard to ignore. So if I'm in 14 teams, absolutely got to roster him. The Bronco really on a strong run here, Jalen Williams. 29, 10 and 9, 3 steals. Hit 4 threes as well. That was one of the things I wanted to see from him, is up the assists and up the threes, and he's done it well. On the other side of things, what's going on with Chet Holmgren? There was a lot of discussion about him being better than Wemby and a clear first-round guy after 2 games. And where we at? 15 and 10, block, 36%. He did hurt his thigh in the last game. He played through it. I wonder if there's something going on there, but he fell away. We got an absolutely monster Alex Caruso game. He played 22 minutes. He had 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 steals, 2 blocks, shot 11%. I don't think I've ever seen a Caruso game where his usage is as high as it was here. And honestly, at 16%, it's not that high. I'm sure there's been plenty of games. He was also a -8, which also usually doesn't happen. He still remains just a defensive streamer. I don't think you need to go and run to grab him. Cason Wallace gets you 2 steals a game, and he got another 2 here. Isaiah Joe hits 3 threes, and that's what he does, 11, 5, and 3. Him and Wallace are on and off sort of stream guys, depending on what you need, and I don't really know how much that sort of stuff is going to be changing as we move forward. The Denver side of things, without Aaron Gordon, without the headmaster Jamal Murray, Nikola Jokic went bang, 23, 20, and 16, 2 steals, 2 blocks. Bad percentages, but huge game, and was also a Christian Brown game. I'm very happy to admit if I was wrong on my evaluation of Brown. He's been unbelievably good. There was nothing that I saw from watching him play the first 2 years that would suggest that he's been able to do what he's doing. And he's doing it. So yeah, I guess I'm wrong. 24, 8 and 8, 4 threes, 2 steals and a block. He was a 65% free throw shooter last season. He's about 84 this year. He's not missing. He's getting a lot of attempts. His usage is going up. Makes sense with no Jamal Murray here in this game. But yeah, he's been awesome. This was a really strong game from Michael Porter, 24 and 7 with 6 threes. What about who replaced Aaron Gordon? Well, it was, as we expected, Peyton Watson. And again, if you added Peyton Watson, this is what you get. 10, 3 and 3, a 3, a steal, 3 blocks, bad free throws. It's a 12-team league player. He is a 12-team league player. Julian Strouder also was able to do more. 27 minutes, didn't do much with him, 27%, but 9, 5 and 6. I'm marginally interested. 14-team leagues, I'm more interested for Strouder. 12s, I'm sort of there. Westbrook, 29, 6 and 6. He put up huge field goals. While Murray is out, they didn't close with him, by the way. While Murray is out, he is a 12-team league player. It's hard to justify that in other periods, but it's possible that the headmaster is back and getting people into line in the next game. Possible. Don't know for sure, but it's fairly possible. Miami and Phoenix, the next game. The Heat, same starting line, but they did change it at halftime with Hayward Highsmith replacing Little Chungus, Nikola Jokic, who really does continue to struggle, and their faith in him seems to be not quite, I guess, where some people would want it to be. It's been pretty disappointing from Jokic. We'll go through what he did here in this game. He had 4 points in 5 minutes. And yeah, I'm going to say that if you're rostering him in 10 or 12, 14 team leagues, you could probably move on.
Get that garbage out of here!
What we did get as an interesting development is that Superman, Khalil Ware, was the backup centre over Tom Bryant. 7 and 3, 2 steals, 1 block. If you are in deep leagues, you add him. 20 teamers, 16 teamers, you add him. Highsmith had a big game. Now, Hayward Highsmith, you go look at his game log. He will do 19 and 7. That's great. He'll play 0 minutes next game. Or he could. Don't add him anywhere at this point. Hero had 28, 3 and 6, and Bam only had 12 points on 21 shots and shot 24%. You are a centre. What are you doing? Didn't hit a single three. So, what's going on? He attempted 1. So he just missed every 2-pointer in the world? 22 pointers he attempted. And he hit... What's the number? I don't know. It's really low, whatever it is. Stinking from Adebayo. Jimmy Butler was mid. 15, 7 and 3 with a steal. I am very confident that Jimmy is not getting back to top 20 numbers. Very confident. And Rozier also stunk. 7 points, 20%. He had 7 rebounds. He had 5 assists. Rozier was not a top 100 player in his time in Miami last season. He's 99th this season. That's where he was going in drafts, and it's about right. Larson's getting some minutes now. 29 minutes for Larson, 6 points. We're not adding him outside of the very deep formats, but it is interesting that there is that change with him in and Khalil Ware in. And I don't know why this always happens. Why do everyone goes, well, maybe it's different for us with Tom Bryant. Like, what were you doing, Spoelstra? I think you're a really good coach, but this is so obvious, man. Ware just had to be in this position from day one. It only took us like the middle of week 3, but why does this happen? Oh, seniority. Cool. How about we just play the better players? Speaking of the better players, what's going on in Phoenix? Not that they made any change to their starting lineup, but one of their starters, is he back? The big man? Yusuf Nurkic? 20 and 18, 3 threes, 1 steal, 2 blocks. Just would have given up hope. That's 3 games in a row with at least 15 rebounds. Now, in the next game, he might play 10 minutes. But there's no way you can leave that on the wire. You can't. An indication that Budenholzer is going back to this instead of the small ball stuff is intriguing. It's unbelievably interesting. He's a must-roster player, somehow. Brad Beal, yeah, the thing's bothering him, his elbow. But he did get 2 steals and 2 blocks, but 33% sucks, 7 points sucks. Budenholzer acknowledged before the game that, yeah, he's playing Kevin Durant too many minutes. I know, my guy, what are you doing? Durant played another 37 here. He had 32 and 8 with 3 assists. Free throws weren't as good and they were a little bit down. I'm still maintaining that Durant is not going to be a first-round player this season. He's 12th for now. And Booker had 22, 4 and 9. Royce O'Neal just doing enough to be on the peripheries of 12s. He had 6 and 7, 2 assists and a steal and a block. While Tyus Jones, all he is at the moment is an assists merchant. And I say merchant because he does not provide high-value assists. That doesn't matter for fantasy, but in real life that's what happens. 33 minutes, 9 points, 9 assists, 5 points. He doesn't do anything else. And that will end up not being a 12-team league player. I know there were a lot of people thinking that it was a massive steal in fantasy drafts. I was not one of them. I don't love what's happening in terms of how it's playing out, but it is sort of in line with how I thought things might go. Grayson Allen, only the 12 points for him with not much else. He played 22 minutes. He just isn't a 12-team league player either. I don't think we need to hold on to the idea that he is because he was last season, because things were very different. He played 35 minutes a night. He shot 46% from 3. Neither of those things are happening this season. That was part of the reason why I was like, don't draft him. Because those 2 things are not happening. We'll see where we go. But so far, that's the direction things seem to be heading. The Toronto Raptors went and took on the Sacramento Kings. The Raptors, they don't get it done. Unfortunately for all of us Raptors fans, they lose 122-107, the final score. A couple more injuries for Toronto. Jonathan Mobo left early with a hip pointer, and Jacoby Walter left with another shoulder injury. I think that you can pretty clearly drop Mobo now. Ochai Agbaji was solid again, not his best, but 12, 2 and 2, that's enough for a hold there. Well, Davion Mitchell's the one that really popped off. 32 minutes, 20 and 6 with 2 threes. He shot 73% to get there, so that's not realistic. And it does appear like Quigley might be back on the weekend. We'll see. Pirtle was solid enough, 10-8-4, and RJ had 23-3-3 with 2 steals. RJ is going to drop when players return, but I still think he's going to be pretty strong. Let's talk about the big fella, Grade A Dick. Foul trouble for Dick limited him to only 24 minutes. It is hard to do much when you're only playing those 24 minutes, but a lot of what he was doing was very much engorged. There was no way that Dick was going to continue at the level of defensive stats, at the level of shooting. He just wasn't able to do that. This was a nice, hey, let's let reality turkey slap us here, because he shot 30%, he had 7-4-2 with no defensive stats and no threes. Now, I think that you should be having Dick on your teams for now. And then each time somebody returns, quickly on the weekend, we reassess it. And he probably still will be worth it then. When everyone is playing, I'm not sure. I also know that the level he was producing at had no shot of continuing. This is not me being negative towards Dick. It's about trying to keep expectations at more of a realistic level. And I think this game maybe just deflated some of that bubble somewhat, which I do think was necessary. On the other side of the equation with the Sacramento Kings, we are getting full Mike Brown here with the shooting guards. Kevin Huerter returned straight back into the starting lineup so he could have 11 points in 24 minutes. Keon Ellis played 23 minutes and had 8 points with 2 steals. I don't think either of them are 12-team league guys. Huerter to me is like a Tim Hardaway Jr. points and 3-streamer. Ellis is like a guy that gets a few more minutes than Alex Caruso to get steals. At this point, you've got to have faith that Mike Brown just stops playing one of these guys to get the other guy into big minutes. And I don't think it's happening. And the same goes with Malik Monk, who I've been very big on thinking that, hey, he took somewhat of a discount to sign back here. I thought they promised him a larger role. Nah, a lower role, a smaller role. What is going on? 21 minutes for Monk, 13 and 6 for Leaky with 2 steals on 31%. In fact, Leaky Monk.
Get that garbage out of here!
I think that he is very clearly their 5th best player at worst. But it doesn't matter if I think that, if old mate Mike Brown's going to just rotate these 3 guys through that spot. That doesn't matter. Sabonis, a nice triple-double, 17, 11, and 13 on perfect shooting across the board, while Keegan Murray also had a huge game. 17 shot attempts for Keegan, while Sabonis takes 6. He's a wild shot distribution. Murray had 22 and 12, and he's been pretty strong to start the year. De'Aaron Fox, dealing with a finger issue, shot horribly. 9 of 10 from the line is good, but 29 from the field is bad, and his assists continue to drop off a little bit here. He only had 2. While DeRozan, we had him on the buy low, sell high show saying, I think some of this stuff's going to cool off. Well, it hasn't yet, but still 53% from 2 is more than what he was. It was lower than what he was doing before, but he just hit 50% of his threes. Not much else going on with DeRozan there. It's just the 3 assists, and that was part of the concern with DeRozan joining Sacramento, is how the touches and the assist percentages distribute between Fox and Sabonis and DeRozan. I don't think we've got a full answer, because it seems to rotate all the time. Like in this game, Sabonis got the big assist numbers. Fox got nothing, and DeRozan got very few. And I think that's going to be more of an ongoing problem or ongoing uncertainty, I guess, around how that plays out. Let's go to the final game of the 12-game Wednesday. Sixers and Clippers. Philadelphia went in with an unchanged lineup. They didn't get the win, though. 110-98. The Clippers knock them off. Another soft tissue injury. Tyrese Maxey dealing with hamstring tightness. I'm not sure if playing 43 minutes a night had anything to do with it. Who can tell? But obviously, we've got a big concern. 32 minutes for Maxey here. 12, 1, and 1. It has been an extraordinarily disappointing start, I would say. I had concerns with Maxey just in terms of what his role would be with Embiid and George there, and then they were both gone, and his efficiency really suffered, and now an injury. We hope everything's alright. In terms of who replaces him, they will almost certainly go to Kyle Lowry at first, and Lowry finally had the game where he was bad. He didn't score, but he had 4 assists, and he would become an assists stream guy. I would want them to give Jared McCain a go, and he played 12 minutes, garbage time stuff, but 5, 1, and 2. That's a deeper league watch guy, maybe a deeper league ad, if Maxey's missing. And if you want to get ahead of it, do it. Better game from PG. 24 minutes, 18 and 7, 3 steals, a block, 79%. He's back, and that's good. That was a really good game from Kelly Oubre. I don't think I really care. 18, 2, and 3 is fine. He shot 67% to get there, but this is the thing. If you want to move off a guy like Oubre, I've got no problem with it. He's going to have some good games, and you go, why did I move off of him? I just don't think there's any sort of prolonged, consistent good play that he'll bring. And you'll get these games. Same with Drummond, who played 32 minutes. No, he didn't. So, 32. 9 and 10. We absolutely do not need to roster Andre Drummond. And you do not need to stash him for the next time Embiid gets out. He's just not doing enough to be worth it. And Caleb Martin's also not a 12-team league player.
Get that garbage out of here!
KJ Martin got some extra run here, but honestly, most of this stuff, I don't think there's a huge amount to really gain from digging into that. Embiid's going to be back next Tuesday. We'll see him. Yeah, we'll see him next Tuesday, and that changes everything about how this squad interacts and how the shots go and the rotations. And now there's the Maxey injury to chuck in there. It's still going to be a mess. On the Clippers side of things, no change to their lineup either. Norman Powell continues to be the best shooter in the world outside of Buddy Hield. 26 points with 6 threes. He shot 80%. He also had 6 assists. His numbers are great. There's no way that they hold at this level. I'm assuring you of this. If Kawhi returns. But even if Kawhi doesn't return, or not return, actually play, Powell is going to cool off from this hot shooting he is. Harden continues to shoot really poorly, and I do think he's going to come up at some point. 18, 4, and 6 with 3 steals. And steals and blocks for Harden are also way up at the moment, so they could fall off too. Well, Zubac's at 15 and 9. It's just a solid performance. Not a lot else. Derek Jones Jr., a better game, 14 and 4, but we'll leave that for streaming and deeper formats. Terrence Mann had 7, and Amir Coffey had 11 points with 2 threes, a stark drop from what he was last game. If you wanted Chris Dunn for assists and steals, you got 5 assists and you got 2 steals. That's what he does. He's definitely not a must at all. Well, cousin Kevin Porter, I'm sure no one's rostering him. He had 2 points in 12 minutes. It's a shame. Let us go in now and talk about the lines of the night, shall we? We'll go into the monstrous to begin the proceedings. And this one was actually relatively close in terms of who was going to get it. Who do you think, actually? Who do you think would have got the monstrous line of the night, as I put it up? Karl-Anthony Towns, 34 points, 16 rebounds, and 3 blocks, gets him the nomination. Your waiver wire line of the night, the best performance from a guy who is below 45% in our roster metric, and it goes to a guy that's 0%. Jarris Walker, hello. 17 and 6, 2 steals, a block, no backup centers, no Neesmith. He was really good. I don't think it's a 12-team ad, but deeper league, sure. And you can just keep an eye on the way that they sort of start to move this. No one's going to give you any sort of prize, I don't think, here for guessing who the young gun of the night is. And it's a night that both Chet Holmgren and Victor Wembanyama played. And they're not it. Because Zaccharie Risacher decided, let's go. 33 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals, and 2 blocks. He shot the lights out. His other games have been putrid. This was great. Hunter remains out. I don't think Risacher moves back to the bench, but I also don't know. And it's also one of those situations where everything just went right. The shots fell, the defense was there, the minutes and usage opportunities were there as well. And that won't always be the case. But it's encouraging. When we see encouraging signs, we add him, and then he could have 10 points on 12 shots next game, and we get pissed off once again. The dud of the night. Is it one of your favourite players? Does it really matter? Not really. It's Dick, though. Grady had 7 points, he had 4 rebounds, he had 2 assists, he had foul trouble. He didn't do anything else. He was just bad. And that's okay, because he'd been awesome in the other games, and he just wasn't awesome here. Who are the top 6 players of the day? You already know who number 1 is for category leagues. I'm assuming you know who the guy was that came in second place. That was Karl-Anthony Towns at number 1, followed by Big Chungus Nikola Jokic, Steph Curry, Zaccharie Risacher, Luka Doncic, and the Bronco, Jalen Williams. Your top 6 waiver wire players, number 1 was Jarris Walker. Number 2, Haywood Highsmith. I just completely ignore that. Even in deeper leagues, he literally might play 2 minutes next game. You could try it, but there's no consistency. Davion Mitchell is worth a stream until quickly comes back. Goga Badadze is worth an ad, irrespective. Matas Buzelis, maybe, for tomorrow, but I'm not certain he plays those minutes, but it is worth a look with the Bulls schedule. And then Juice McBride, who's very hit or miss, but he's clearly the 6th guy on that team, and when you're in a 14-team league, that makes a lot of difference, and it is quite important. Your top 6 Yahoo Points League players of the day: Jokic, Towns, Jalen Williams, Luka Doncic, Zaccharie Risacher, and Steph Curry. And your top 6 ESPN Points League players of the day: number 1 was Jokic, Risacher, Jalen Williams, Steph Curry, Karl-Anthony Towns, and Luka Doncic. That's it. 12 games in the books in the NBA. I hope you have managed to stick it out until the end here. And if you have, well, give it a thumb. A double bang, lockedondaily.com. Check out the sponsors. We are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone.